जय राधा माधव, राधा माधव, राधा माधव, जय अष्ट सखी। जय नृसिंहदेव, 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 जय प्रहलाद महाराज। जय पंचतत्व, पंचतत्व, जय पंचतत्व, जय पंचतत्व। जय जय प्रभुपाद, 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद। जय श्री श्री राधा माधव अष्ट सखी वृंद श्रीमन महाप्रभु की, श्री प्रहलाद नृसिंहदेव अनंत देव की, श्री श्री पंचतत्व गौर निताय की, शील प्रभुपाद की, गौर भक्त वृंद की, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे। हरि हरि बोल। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। मुखाकरोति वाचालं पंगोरं गायते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरो दिनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्य ईश्वरं। नमः ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते जयपताकस्वामिनिति नामिने। नमाचार्यपादाय निताय कृपप्रदायिने गौरकथादामदाय नगरग्रामतारिणे। नमः ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यादेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की, श्रील प्रभुपाद की। We are reading from the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 27, text 21. śrī-bhagavān uvāca animitta-nimittena sva-dharmeṇāmalātmanā tīvrayā mayi bhaktyā ca śruta-sambhṛtayā ciram. śrī-bhagavān uvāca animitta-nimittena sva-dharmeṇāmalātmanā tīvrayā mayi bhaktyā ca śruta-sambhṛtayā ciram. Śrī-bhagavān uvāca animitta-nimittena sva-dharmeṇāmalātmanā tīvrayā mayi bhaktyā ca śruta-sambhṛtayā ciram. amala-ātmanā tīvrayā mayi bhaktyā ca śruta-sambhṛtayā ciram. śrī-bhagavān uvāca animitta-nimittena sva-dharmeṇāmalātmanā tīvrayā mayi bhaktasya śruta-sambhṛtayā ciram. śrī-bhagavān uvāca animitta-nimittena tīvrayā mayi bhaktyā ca śruta-sambhṛtayā ciram. Vaishnavis. śrī-bhagavān uvāca animitta-nimittena sva-dharmeṇāmalātmanā tīvrayā mayi bhaktyā ca śruta-sambhṛtayā ciram. Word by word translation, if you like to repeat. Śrī-bhagavān uvāca. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, animitta-nimittena, without desiring the fruits of activities. Sva-dharmeṇa, by executing one's prescribed duties. Amala-ātmanā, with a pure mind. Tīvrayā, serious. Mayi, unto me. Bhaktyā, by devotional service. Cha, and. Śruta, hearing. Sambhṛtayā, endowed with. Ciram, for a long time. The Supreme Translation, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, one can get liberation by seriously discharging devotional service unto me, and thereby hearing for a long time about me or from me. By thus executing one's prescribed duties, there will be no reaction, and one will be freed from the contamination of matter. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Sridhar Swami comments in this connection that by association with material nature alone, one does not become conditioned. Conditional life begins only after one is infected by the modes of material nature. If someone is in contact with the police department, that does not mean he is a criminal. As long as one does not commit criminal acts, even though there is a police department, he is not punished. Similarly, the liberated soul is not affected, although he is in the material nature. Even the Supreme Personality of Godhead is supposed to be in the association with material nature when he descends, but he is not affected. One has to act in such a way that in spite of being in the material nature, he is not affected by contamination. Although the lotus flower is in association with water, it does not mix with the water. That is how one has to live, as described here by the Supreme Personality of Godhead Kapila Deva. Animitta-nimittena sva-dharmeṇāmalātmanā. One can be liberated from all adverse circumstances simply by seriously engaging in devotional service. How this devotional service develops and becomes mature is explained here. In the beginning, one has to perform his prescribed duties with a clean mind. Clean consciousness means Krishna consciousness. One has to perform his prescribed duties in Krishna consciousness. There is no necessity of changing one's prescribed duties. One simply has to act in Krishna consciousness. In discharging Krishna conscious duties, one should determine whether by his professional or occupational duties, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is satisfied. In another place in the Bhagavatam, it is said, Swanustitasya dharmasya samsiddhir haritoshanam. Everyone has some prescribed duties to perform, but the perfection of such duties will be reached only if the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, is satisfied by such actions. For example, Arjuna's prescribed duty was to fight, and the perfection of his fighting was tested by the satisfaction of Krishna. Krishna wanted him to fight, and when he fought for the satisfaction of the Lord, that was the perfection of his professional devotional duty. On the other hand, when contrary to the wish of Krishna, he was not willing to fight, that was imperfect. If one wants to perfect his life, he should discharge his prescribed duties for the satisfaction of Krishna. One must act in Krishna consciousness, for such action will never produce any reaction. Animitta-nimittena. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Yajñārtat karmaṇo ñātra. All activities should be performed simply for yajna or satisfaction of Vishnu. Anything done otherwise without the satisfaction of Vishnu or yajna produces bondage. So here it is also prescribed by Kapila Muni that one transcend material entanglement by acting in Krishna consciousness, which means seriously engaging in devotional service. This serious devotional service can develop by hearing for long periods of time. Chanting and hearing is the beginning of the process of devotional service. One should associate with devotees and hear from them about the Lord's transcendental appearance, activities, disappearance, instructions, etc. There are two kinds of shruti or scripture. One is spoken by the Lord, and the other is spoken about the Lord and his devotees. Bhagavad Gita is the former and Bhagavatam the latter. One must hear these scriptures repeatedly from reliable sources in order to become fixed in serious devotional service. Through engagement in such devotional service, one becomes freed from the contamination of maya. It is stated in Srimad Bhagavatam that hearing about the Supreme Personality of Godhead cleanses the heart of all contaminations caused by the influence of the three modes of material nature. By continuous, regular hearing, the effects of the contamination of the lust and greed to enjoy or lord it over material nature diminish. And when lust and greed diminish, one then becomes situated in the mode of goodness. This is the stage of Brahman realization or spiritual realization. In this way, one becomes fixed on the transcendental platform. Remaining fixed on the transcendental platform is liberation from material entanglement. Let's read the translation if you like to repeat. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, one can get liberation by seriously discharging devotional service unto me and thereby hearing for a long time about me or from me. By thus executing one's prescribed duties, there will be no reaction, and one will be freed from the contamination of matter. Srila Prabhupada ki. Yay, finally we have some hope. Some devotees often ask, how is it possible, Mataji? The bills to pay, the family issues, the unmarried children, all the debts I have. How can I remain like a lotus in the water without being affected by it? Many of us have this question about our life and circumstances. I want to be like the lotus. Who doesn't want to be like a lotus? Padma patraivam vasa. So Bhagavad Gita basics, we want to be. And Kapila Dev here in this particular verse, 5,000 years ago, has already given the solution to his mother, Devahuti. How to be like that lotus. So let's contemplate and try to absorb this message of Srimad Bhagavatam. This is not just some mythology or some literature that was written 5,000 years ago. This is super applicable for all of us, trying to become that lotus amidst all the dirty water. There's urgency here, and that urgency was spoken by Rishabhadev to his sons. He said, Nayam deho deha bhajam nrloke kashtan kaman arhate vidbhujamye tapo divyam putrakayena sattvam shuddhyed yasmad brahma saukyam tvanantam. So he's saying it is difficult to actually become that lotus, but it's possible through tapo divyam putrakayena sattvam. So Rishabhadev is telling his sons, my dear sons, the way to protect yourself, to shield yourself so that the dirtiness doesn't get to us, is through tapo divyam, by performing austerities, but not just any kind of austerity. It has to be divyam. It has to be authorized. It has to uplift us. Because Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita says that there is austerity in the modes of three modes of nature. We can perform in the mode of tamoguna. No, I will not do this, neti. We become like impersonalists. I will not talk to my family members because they trigger me. Right? I will disconnect. I'll become pure by not associating with these people who are very materialistic. Tamas and rajas mixture. But in Sattvaguna, Tapodivyam means that which is austere, but it's like a rubber band. Not too tight, but also not too loose. Enough. Because if it's too tight, it will break. And then we collapse. And then we say, I don't want to chant anymore. I don't want to wake up in the morning anymore. I don't want to study Bhagavatam anymore. Because the mind can either be a best friend or a worst enemy. The latter we know a little bit more familiar with, right? Mind rebelling. But if it's too low, Are kuch bhi chalega, I'm going to just chant Hare Krishna, eat prasadam and jump up and down in the kirtan, I'm okay, I'm going to go back to Godhead. It's too loose. So Rishabhadev speaks about the urgency. He says, Tapodivyam putrakayana sattvam shuddhyed yasmad brahma saukyam tvanantam. Not saying tapodivyam and struggle and go through all kinds of suffering. Krishna is not a sadist God. He doesn't want us to suffer. No, tapodivyam putrakayana sattvam shuddhyed yasmad brahma saukyam tvanantam. How many of us like to go to Kolkata? Well, depends, right? The context. How many of us actually like the traffic of Kolkata, or the trains, or the taxi? No, we don't want to. But how many of us came through Kolkata to Mayapur? How many of us would like to come to Mayapur? So that Brahma Saukyam Tvanantam, the happiness is to arrive in Mayapur. Therefore, we're ready to go through that. This is a very important analogy to explain the journey of our life. There are certain points in our life that we have to reach. Even though it's not pleasant, we have to pass through it to reach our goal. In this case, the goal is Mayapur Dham. And here, Kapila Dev is speaking about how to remain a lotus. Because there are many distractions. There's a lot of traffic and there's a lot of garbage. You have to go through all that to pass through. Sometimes, if it's morning time, the driver might be focused and drive nicely. If it's midnight driving, sometimes the driver could fall asleep. Right? There are so many obstacles in the path, but we still take it. We still want to reach from Kolkata to Mayapur. We still get on that train which is all screaming and shouting, and we still go there Because we want the Brahma Saukyam. In its analogy, it's we want to reach Mayapur Dham, we want to touch the holy Dham, and we want to take shelter of the Dham. Similarly, the example Prabhupada is giving, police department. How many of us like police department? Depends, right? For which side we are standing on. And the Prabhupada is saying that just because somebody is standing in the proximity of a police station does not mean that the person is criminal. Like ourselves, we may be passing through the super crowded Kolkata station to try to catch a train to come to Mayapur. It does not necessarily mean because we are in the proximity of the crowd and the noise and the garbage, doesn't mean we are contaminated. That does not have to mean that we are contaminated. Because the infection is different from the proximity. Let me read this, okay? Let me read this to get that visual. Okay. If someone is in contact with the police department, that does not mean that he's a criminal. As long as one does not commit criminal acts, even though there is a police department, he is not punished. So that means we are not contaminated just because we have to go to a job. I have a friend who does tax filing job. It's very tedious, especially this time of the year. Just a few weeks ago, super stressed. And the person was like, I wish I could be in Mayapur and not have to do this job. Does it mean just because they have a material job and they have to deal with so many criminals and so many things, tax evasion, try to trick the government, try to do all kinds of things the person has to deal with, does it mean that they are contaminated? Not necessarily. Just because we are in Mayapur Dham, does it mean that we are free of contamination? What do you think? Yes? Some say no. But this is Mayapur Dham, no? We're shielded, no? We're protected. We're not touched by material. The sun and moon here is not material. So just leave all things, leave your job, leave your old parents, leave your partner, leave your kids. Just come to Mayapur Dham. You will become free. You will become the lotus in the water. Unfortunately, it does not work like that. Why? Because the matter is not the problem. Daiviyesha gunamayi mama maya duratyaya. The matter is actually created by Krishna. Matter itself is not the problem, but when we get affected by that modes of nature, then it becomes a problem. Sometimes as devotees, we do go extremes. We do tend to think that that person is a problem, this job is a problem. The truth is, my consciousness is the problem. I'm not able to place my consciousness, if I'm not able to place my consciousness in the right sattvic environment, saddham, vishuddham, right? If I'm not able to, then what will happen? Whether I am in Mayapur, whether I am in Vrindavan, whatever, wherever I am. Kashi Varanasi Kanchi Kalahasti Rameshwar Yesu Desha Tiruvidaru Bahodenu Alli Hodenu. Doesn't matter what holy place I am unless and until I have imbibed to the consciousness and the qualities of what Prabhupada is saying here, the pure, clean consciousness. Clean consciousness means Krishna consciousness. There go synonyms. It's not one without the other. What is the point of being clean if I'm not Krishna conscious? What's the point of being Krishna conscious if I'm not clean? They go hand in hand together. So this concept of matter is not the problem, but not getting infected is very nicely explained by Prabhupada. And he says, Krishna, even Krishna, how does Prabhupada say it here? Even Krishna has to actually be satisfaction. Even Krishna creates this material world. Even Krishna is in touch with this material, but he's not bound. He's not touched by matter. There's a beautiful verse in the Vishnu Sahasranam. Bhutatma paramatma cha muktanam paramagatihi avyaya purusha sakshi kshetrajño kshara eva cha. It very nicely explains, right, how Krishna is everywhere, right? He is in our hearts too. Krishna is Hrideshe Arjuna Tishtati. He tells Arjuna that I'm seated in every living entity's heart, even in the bug, even the mosquitoes that bother us, the flies. Krishna is inside them. He's in me, he is in you, he's in the tree, he's everywhere. He's in the bird. Krishna is everywhere. At the same time, Bhutatma Paramatma cha Muktanam Paramagati. He is completely liberated. But he cares for us. Avyaya Purusha Sakshi. He wants to be a witness. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he's also our eternal Father. He wants to discipline us. So he is conscious, consistently, every single lifetime, even if we are born as a worm in the stool, Krishna will accompany us. How merciful. How Karuna Sagara Govinda. He is so merciful. Like an ocean of mercy, literally, right? It's not just poetic expression. Somebody's Supreme Personality of Godhead, why he has to be inside the worm who is in the stool? Why he has to be present there? So it's not easy to understand Krishna. How can it be easy to understand if this is my duty, if this is my Krishna consciousness, or this is material? It's not so easy. So here, this verse of Srimad Bhagavatam comes in the purport. Prabhupada is quoting Shrinvantam swakata Krishna punya shravana kirtana hridyantasto hyabadrani vidhunoti suhritsatam. So how to make that clean consciousness? By constantly hearing about Krishna. Why? Why should I hear about Krishna? So that I can be freed of material contamination? No, not only that. I want to hear about Krishna so I can be hearing about Krishna a long time. Because there's sambandha, which is our identity, our relation. There is the abhideya, what's the process? And there's the prayojana, what's the goal? We all need a goal. So if my abhideya, my process to reach Krishna is through Shrinvantam Swakata Krishna, so that Hridyantastohaya Bhadrani, the heart gets tied up. So much samskaras, patterns, traumas, conditioning, we get cheated by people, all that is in our heart. But by hearing constantly about Krishna, Hridyantastohaya Bhadrani, it gets destroyed, that knot, and we become purified. The clean consciousness can happen. And in order for that to happen, Hridyantastohaya Bhadrani, vidunoti suhritsatam. So we are not anymore, the identity is not anymore stuck. Okay, that's the abhideya. Prayojana, why do I do it? This is something I've been contemplating a lot these days. Sometimes at least me, I try to perform devotional service so I can get to my goal. Sometimes I forget that the goal is exactly what I'm trying to do right now. I want to chant nicely so I can keep chanting nicely. That's the goal. Not that I'll chant nicely now, like exams, no? And let me learn nicely so I do the exam, so then I forget all the questions and answers. That's usually the material concept of why do I study for an exam. But Krishna consciousness is such a joyful thing. So sukham kartum avyayam. I chant so I can keep chanting. I perform devotional service so I can keep performing devotional service. Sometimes I rush into doing service. I have to do this, I have to do this. I have to complete my Bhakti Vaibhava, I have to complete. But then I forget that the goal is not just complete. The goal is so I can get absorbed in doing that for a long time. Prabhupada is saying here, and even Kapila Dev is saying here, discharging devotional service unto me and thereby hearing for a long time about me or from me. Very important. Now, this Prabhupada brings up that there are two kinds of shruti. That's the last paragraph. There are two kinds of shruti or scripture. One is spoken by the Lord and the other is spoken about the Lord and his devotees. I want to again bring this analogy of the journey. Imagine the road to Mayapur, and I get Oh, distracted. Oh, nice sari shop. Let me stop here. Oh, nice handicraft, West Bengal handlooms. Let me stop there. Tell the driver, stop here, stop there, stop there. What happens? My journey will get delayed. I can get lost and say, hey, that road is looking like there's a lot of shopping malls there. Let's go there. Or this side looks like, there's a lot of, the road scenery is better. Driver, don't go this side. The road is bad. Let's go that side. Then I get lost. So I was thinking, sometimes we can get lost within Vedic culture. Sometimes I start thinking, yeah, Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, very nice. But let me also read Manu Samhita. Let me also read some other Dharma Shastras. Actually, our acharyas say that we have to be very careful as devotees. If my prayojana is going back to Godhead, to Krishna, to Goloka Vrindavan, actually going to that Shama Sundara Krishna, if we really, that's our goal, because if something else is your goal, okay, good luck, bye, Hari Bol, we are different paths. But if this is our goal, our acharyas warn us. There are many kinds of scriptures, many kinds, so many shastras. But all the other type of dharma shastras is meant to achieve karma kanda. Right? Do this, don't do this. There's a lot. I come from South India and we're very much exposed to all kinds of rituals. If you do this, this will happen. Don't wash your hair on this day. There's a lot you can get lost in. Lost in translation, lost in shastra. No? Sometimes you can get blinded. Hare Baba, this is shastra. Sometimes simple people, we may believe, oh, as soon as you hear the word shastra, ting, we become, all the antenna goes up. Oh, this must be authorized. But Prabhupada warns us, our acharyas warn us, should be careful, shouldn't get lost the track. And I'm not saying this like just a theory, personal experience. My aunt and uncle, they were flying and they were in the airport in Dubai. Can you believe they missed 3 connecting flights? Not because the flight was not on time, the flight was on time. They just got spaced out in the airport. Once they slept, so they were dozing off. Time went, flight took off, they missed the flight. They went back, got another boarding card. They were sitting there and then they were looking, I don't know what, watching a movie, and they missed the flight. Can you believe that? And the third time they said, oh yeah, let's buy this, buy that. And because of shopping, they lost 3 flights. None of us relatives could believe it, that they lost 3 connecting flights. Incredible. Then after we all told them, hey, how could you miss your flight? Happened to me. I almost missed the flight. I was sitting in Dubai peacefully, studying something, reading something. Keep looking at my clock. There is still time. There is still 45 minutes. Then I'll go to the gate. It'll be very crowded. And after a while I realized, oh my God, the Dubai time and India time is different. Let me look at my... Then I looked at Dubai time, it was already late. Then I rushed to the gate. Everyone was gone. The gate was completely empty, nobody. Then I started knocking on one of those glass doors because I saw one of the air hostess there. Can you imagine the anxiety, right? The whole anxiety. And then I started knocking. When the lady came, she said, it's 20 minutes past the time of takeoff. And you're here now? I said, sorry, sorry. She said, you are one lucky, and she used the bad word. And she said, we could not find your luggage. Because usually when the passenger doesn't come on time, the boarding is complete. If the passenger is not in the flight, they will take the baggage out and then the takeoff happens. But they couldn't find my bag. And who knows, anything could happen, right? Maybe I have a bomb there and therefore I didn't board the flight. So they didn't take off. So the flight was delayed by more than 30 minutes because my bag was in. And can you imagine when I entered the airplane, everybody knew that it's because of one passenger that we couldn't take off. And all the curses and the eyes on me was not very pleasant. So that gave me the realization as I was preparing for this verse that I have to be focused on my prayojana. I need to be aware and conscious. Prabhupada said in order to be Krishna conscious, we need to be first be conscious. If I'm not conscious that the time on my watch is different than the time which the country I am in, I can miss the flight. Similarly, I should be very careful when somebody says, this is in the Shastra, don't do this. Actually, there was a time somebody even asked me after I gave a class, Mataji, how you can give class being a woman? And then I just said, Prabhuji, we have to take the context of which Shastra we're talking about. I'm a Gaudiya Vaishnava. So sometimes I need to clarify what clock, what timing I'm looking at, what Shastra am I talking about. The Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. That's not by chance that it's Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. And it's not only Shastra. Because in Kali Yuga, Acharya Mam Vijani, thank you. So Acharya Mam Vijanina verse declares that it's not very easy to come out with solutions ourselves. We need Srila Prabhupada, we need Guru, we need the right prescription. If I just go to a medical store and say, Prabhuji, that nice, even if he's a devotee who's running the medical shop, I say, Prabhu, that green color tablet looks very nice, can you give it to me? No, it looks very nice. No, I may get very healthy by eating a green color tablet. It doesn't work like that. So here in this purport, Arjuna's example is given. So there was two options in front of Arjuna. He could either fight or withdraw. And not fighting had very good reasons. Arjuna said, Kim no rajyena Govinda, kim bhogair jivitena va. Krishna, why I should fight? What I'm going to do with the kingdom? Why should I catch the flight? It's okay, let it miss. Why should I bother with this, Krishna? And then he could have just said, he did say, by the way, he did say, like, so many people will become orphans. No, women will be without protection. I mean, everything Arjuna said kind of makes sense. He's a compassionate person who's thinking of consequences that can happen also in our life. But if I do this, devotees may feel bad, my parents may feel bad, what will people think? There's a lot of considerations. But in this case, it did not actually matter whether Arjuna fought or didn't fight. Why? Because the point was not fighting. The point is, samsiddhir haritoshanam, whether Krishna is pleased or not. So whether or not I finish my Bhakti Vedanta, that's one example because it's relevant in my life, constantly focusing on it, that I compromise every other aspect of my life, is that going to please Krishna? I want to come to Mayapur Dham. I don't care who thinks what. Coming to Mayapur Dham is not the point. The point is Krishna pleased with this decision? I grew up in a Madhva family. They have this very, very important principle. Shri Shaichet Jayatu Jayatu. They always say, if it's Krishna's will, let it be victorious. May Krishna's will be done. So I have my own as a Gaudiya Vaishnava, Gauraichet Jayatu Jayatu. If it's Gauranga's will, let it happen. Because if it's Gauranga's will, I don't care what's going to come. Right? Everything will be Govindana Dayavandirali. Let Lord Govinda's mercy be there. I am ready to face whatever it is. That was the success of Arjuna. Because he was able to switch the dharma. What's that verse? Dharma. What's that verse? Dharma svanustita pumsha vishvaksena katasuya notpadayed yadiratim Shrama eva hi kevalam. What a verse. What a verse, what a purport. Everything is a simply useless waste of time and useless labor if it does not produce, it does not invoke bhakti for Krishna. Even if we perform good bhakti vaibhav, good bhakti shastri, great japa, if it does not produce in my heart affection towards Krishna, is a waste. If I am in Mayapur or Vrindavan or any other dham, but my consciousness is not focused on may Krishna's will be done, and I have my own agenda. I will do this, I will do this, I will get married by this time, I will have kids, I will put them in Gurukul, I will do this, whatever the list may be. We may have our own logic, like Arjuna had. If this will happen, then I will advance in Krishna consciousness. No, this purport is saying, samsiddhir haritoshanam, Krishna has to be pleased, and Shrama eva hi kevalam. If Krishna is not pleased, it's just a useless waste of time. So coming back to this journey, the journey to Krishna, towards the journey of Krishna, there is a fruit, like the verse of Rishabhadev, Brahma Saukyam Tvanantam. There is happiness. It's not a goal which is like you will suffer forever. You'll enjoy forever by hearing about Krishna, by hearing from Krishna. The Bhagavatam verse which gives the guarantee is Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavatya kinchana sarvai gunais tatra samasate sura hara bhaktasya kuto mahadguna manorathena sati dhavato bahi. That's the verse which tells us the fruit. What's that fruit? You will get unalloyed love for Krishna. Hari bol, Nitai Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari bol. No obstacles. Everything that comes, we take it as may Krishna's will be done. There's a beautiful bhajan, South Indian bhajan, and says, Bandadella barali, Govindana dayavandirali, Indira ramanana dhyanava madalu, Banda durita bayalagudillave. So the prayojana is to remember Krishna, never forget. Remember the lotus feet of Lord Gauranga Mahaprabhu, Lord Chaitanya, never forget. Then any obstacle that will come will be destroyed. Why? Not that the lotus is not trying to climb out of the water. The lotus is not rejecting the water. It's a very important Krishna conscious element here. I don't need to reject my circumstances. I don't need to be the lotus who will crawl out of water and say, I reject the water. No, I just need to accept Krishna's plan. In that difficult circumstance, Krishna may have something to teach me. Krishna may actually have a hidden lesson behind this. Banna durita bayalagudillave. This actually is a song focused on Pandavas. I constantly asked my grandmother as I grew up, I would always say, why the Pandavas had so much difficulties? Why grandmother? Why Ajji? Why they had to go through so much? And she would correct me. She'd say, hey, what are you saying? Pandavas did not have any difficulties. They had Krishna. They didn't care where they were. They didn't care what they ate. They didn't care what they wore. Krishna was always with them, so they were actually happy. It was Duryodhana who was actually constantly anxious. He was super nervous. Even Bhavan, Bhishmascha, Karnascha, Kripascha, Samitinjaya, Ashwathama, Vikarnascha, Saumadattim, Tataivacha. He had so many warriors. Even Bhishma and Drona, like unconquerable warriors. Still, Duryodhana, he was living in the palace. Pandavas were living in the forest. He will send the spies, go and check what Pandavas are doing. Can you imagine the psychological and emotional concept? Our analogy is we may be in the dham, we may still be thinking of our material problems. So Duryodhana was constantly spying and thinking what the Pandavas are doing. So it's up to us to look at what flight have we missed, what flight do we want to catch, what shastra we want to follow, who do we want to listen to, are we pleasing Krishna? These are all questions that we can know and get the answers only by, according to the purport of Srila Prabhupada, by associating with Mahat Seva Dvara Mahur Vimuktes Tamo Dvaram Yoshitam Sangi Sangam Mahantaste Samachitta Prashanta Vimanyava Suhrida Sadhavoye. There are two paths. Either I take to the path of serving the great devotees, or I associate with those who are going here and there and shopping and losing the track and losing airplanes and buses and trains. The choice is mine. The focus is, we can choose. One last point I would like to end with. Sometimes I see some preachers, they are so sattvic, so focused. You see them, they don't have much baggage. Before they come, they join the movement, they become very expert in Shastra, they start preaching the Shastra, they get very well settled, people really listen to them, and you see that it's easy for them. They didn't have all the anarthas that I was thinking that I have. For some people, I have to put more effort to reach the path. The Acharyas have given us the path. Kolkata to Mayapur is an analogy, but the Acharyas, Rupa Goswami has given us the path. Adao Shraddha Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya, Anartha Nivritti. We have the path set. We have to reach Baba. That's our prayojana in this particular stage of life. But some people have it easy, is a fact. But there's no point in feeling jealous or envious. I should appreciate that, okay, these people didn't have so much baggage. They're making such good advancement. I need to put more effort. That's fine. We're on the same path. So this is something that came as a realization preparing for this class. Some people have it easy and some of us have to put more effort. But the path is already given by the acharyas. So I will end here. If you have any comments, corrections, any path corrections or questions? Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji. So I am thinking when some adversities, difficulties are coming, and if we are thinking this is maybe Krishna's plan to do betterment for us, but while the problem is suppose going long and long, then the devotee may lose the faith. Instead of thinking, okay, this is a Krishna's plan, also maybe this is my karma which we have to finish it with this all problems, I think that will be more appropriate, because in that he will not lose the faith in Krishna. Otherwise, if Krishna's only we will think is Krishna's plan and we are not thinking about, okay, this might be my baggage which I am carrying from the past lives, so he might be little losing the faith in Krishna. So
okay, so there are 3 points here. Number 1 is difficulties. First with padam yat vipadam tesham, there's difficulty every step. So we cannot say if there is difficulty. There is, sure, that's a guarantee. In astrology we say the most certain prediction is given by Saturn, because Saturn will say you will have difficulties, you will die. This is a pakka. There's no if but when. It will. Okay, that's, we agree? Yeah. The second is to whether to think that it's given by Krishna. A devotee thinks like that. The truth is there are 5 factors, Bhagavad Gita, basics. It may be because of your karma, it may be the timing, it may be mass karma, like war, etc. It's not only individual karma, it's also the mass karma. And there may be your own mind. There's of course the adibhautik, adhyatmik, kleshas. There are different kinds of difficulties. So we have to determine which of the thing we're talking. I would say difficulties is like an atom bomb and you have to see what are the wires connected. Which difficulties, because I made stupid mistakes in my life and I may be trying to find somebody to blame. Sometimes it's Krishna, easiest, no? Blame Krishna. Some other times I'm not accepting, I'm in denial. This may be actually good for me. I'm thinking of a particular devotee who went to prison. Okay, and everybody was like, he's a devotee, why did he go to prison? But if you look at that devotee, if you look at their past, you look at, actually it was the best thing that happened to them. Sometimes devotees have fall downs, some difficult circumstance that happens. You may say, why did they have to go through that? That may have been the best thing for them to go back on track. Sometimes you get lost, no? Like the announcements, sometimes say, flight number EK201. If you're spacing out shopping, please come to the gate. So sometimes the circumstances in life are like the announcements. It's annoying, we keep hearing the announcement, but it's putting us back on track. But it seems like you're talking about a particular difficulty, which may be a pattern in our lives. Let's say, in my profession, I see a lot of people who get left by partners or leave partners, right? So if that partner, I have a particular student, she got married 3 times. Each time she left the husband. And she keeps saying, why I get into the circumstances. So there may be something to look at, that the common factor is somehow her. The thing is, she continuously did that situation. I have another client, he keeps failing in every business he does. And he's always saying, my partner's cheated me. My partner's cheated me. So there may be something behind that. There's something, how do you say, the depth of the situation. Why is it that that particular person is constantly having there's a pattern there to look at. Even within our organization, sometimes some people, some kids went through abuse, some did not. Right? So there is something to look behind the apparent symptom. My understanding from this purport is, it is Krishna's plan, but how we will face it, how we take it is up to us. It is Krishna. For a devotee, there is nothing else except Krishna. Correct? There is nothing else except Krishna. What's the studying in the 11th canto, and Uddhava is talking with Krishna, again and again and again it comes up, concept that except without Krishna everything is Maya. Literally everything is Maya without Krishna. The Chatushloki Srimad Bhagavatam, right? The second shloka is all about that. Krishna is real and everything else which is not Krishna is Maya. So, if the losing of the faith is happening, it's not that the doctor got it wrong. Maybe you're not taking the prescribed medicines in time. So the prescription is not wrong. Acharyas have given us the path, but maybe I'm on the wrong track. So the losing of faith is not because of the medicine, is not because of the doctor, is not because of the diagnostics. There may be some pattern. If my tire keep getting punctured, it's not the road. Maybe there was a nail that got stuck to my tire. Of course, there's many possibilities of what difficulty you're thinking of, but I'm talking about principles here. The path cannot make us lose faith. It cannot. That's not this path. Maybe the path of worshipping a celebrity who's going to die in 3 years, but people are giving their life to him and putting their poster in the room. That path, yes, you can get lost. But yasyasti bhaktir bhagavat akinchana, the path of devotional service, the path of Krishna consciousness, it does not produce lack of faith. It is something else. Maybe the water the person is drinking is wrong, it's not the medicine. Or maybe the mold in your house is getting rotten and the bugs are causing you the infection. It cannot be the medicine. So what I'm saying is, it's not Krishna conscious process. It may be some other pattern a person has emotionally. I don't know if it helps you or it raises more question.
Yeah, I understood, Mataji.
Thank you.
Sometimes, obviously, devotees are also fed up and saying,
sorry, repeat that.
Devotees also are sometimes getting fed up. Well, why?
Getting what?
Fed up.
Fed up means
fed up. Yes, fed up. Because constantly same many problems are coming from many years. Then they are thinking, and slowly devotees are devotees have expressed their feelings. I'm losing little faith or something. So that's why I asked this question. And another question is, Mataji, you have mentioned working in corporate or in material organization. That doesn't mean that we are contaminated. But I think when we are working in material organization, the chances of contamination is very high, like 99% or something, very high, I have observed. So better if we have some option not to work there, that will be always good, and work in a spiritual organization where the contamination chances is very less. So what is your thought over this?
One shoe size doesn't fit all. It depends which devotee we are talking about. What's the immunity? How strong is their spiritual life? How strong is their sadhana? What is their path in karma? Dharma svanustita pumsha vishvakshena katasuya. The recommended Srimad Bhagavatam solution is that we have to perform our duty. We cannot say, if you have family to take care, you have bills to pay, you cannot say, I'll leave everything and I will just take sannyas. That's not, we have in our movement many people who did it, and then they gave up sannyas and went back. So we cannot do the markata vairagya or quickly renounce everything. It's a process. It's an organic process. So it depends. It depends what circumstance, because if you can afford to do that, of course, but the concept of contamination, there are different types of contamination. Being in a devotee, I mean, if that's why I don't go on social media, but if you go on social media, if you want talking about contamination, devotees offend each other all the time, which is worse than material contamination. So we have to be very careful about so many levels of contamination. And deviation in philosophy is more dangerous than sense gratification. So there are different types of contamination that we need to guard ourselves against. So I would say one shoe size doesn't fit all. We have to see the person, we have to see their status of immunity, we have to see their sadhana, we have to see their motivation. In the purport, Prabhupada is very clearly saying, you know the example of this, people are building TOVP, and if you go and ask a worker, why are you building this temple? Somebody will say, I have to feed my family. Another worker will say, I love artistic work, so I like to do all this artwork. Another person may say, I want to serve Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I want to serve Bhaktivinoda Thakur's mission. Same thing. If you ask somebody, why are you here in Mayapur, Prabhuji? Because I want to be away from material contamination. That's a very neophyte level. But if the real thing is, I'm here because my Guru Maharaj Spiritual Master gave me this service and I have this service and I'm fixed here. That's another thing. Same thing. You ask a corporate guy, Prabhuji, why are you doing this job? Because I want to enjoy sense gratification. Of course, there's a wrong answer. But if the person could say, oh, I'm in this job because my spiritual master told me to raise my kids and get them educated, and I'm here to serve my parents, and I'm here to help build TOVP or build our community. I donate $10,000 every month, and that corporate job gives me the opportunity to contribute to that. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. That is better than somebody who is in Mayapur Dham escaping the contamination of the pond water because the lotus tried to crawl out. What will happen to the lotus? The lotus will die eventually. So we have to see which lotus we are talking about, which pond we are talking about, and who we are talking about. Sometimes we make this mistake in our organization. We take one instruction and we try to make everyone try to fit into that. For me, maybe my austerity is learning verses. Now, let's say, for you maybe it's not. For you maybe it's very easy, and you may tell me, what's your problem, Mataji? What's your problem to learn verses? It's very easy for me. But that may be my austerity. Same thing, to wake up in the morning. For somebody is very easy, right? We see so many devotees, it's very easy. Some struggle. Maybe they have a health issue. So, within our organization, we need to desha kala patra. We have to see time, place and circumstance and try to understand who we are talking about and what may be easy for me may be difficult for you. So austerity has to be performed in the mode of sattva guna, which means balance. We need to end here. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaura Bhakta